Dueling Advocates Tip of the Day: How to Buy a House. First tip: saving.
And that's probably one of the hardest things ever, right? Because you need to make sure that you can get either that I always say go for at least 20% because you're looking on that, what do you call it, crap, PMI. And if you look on how much that's going to cost you when they roll that into the mortgage, that's just a mess. So you need to make sure you at least have 20% that you can throw down on it.
No way. You need to have a lot more than 20% because once you buy the house, you're telling me that you're going to be broke, right? Because if you put down 20% and then you pay all the doc fees and the tax stamps and the they might even charge you fees for points on the loan or fees for your real estate agent. So you're going to be like in the hole, not even counting the principal of your mortgage. When you buy the house, you're not going to have any money to pay anything else that comes up. You're going to need furniture, you're going to need to do repairs. Trust me, even if it's a brand new house, you're going to need to do repairs. And you're going to need to find some way to guard the house. You're going to have to put up cameras. You're going to have to buy a firearm because the moment you have something nice, everybody and their mother is going to want to take it away from you in the middle of the night. So it's not simply, oh, I have enough to make the purchase. It's, will you even survive the first year of ownership? So if the house, and you're going to be able to date me with this one, if the house is $150,000, right? Because I know in today's world it's starting at $550,000, but let's just say it's 150,000. You're going to need the down payment, so 20% right there, so that's 30 grand. You're going to need money to cover all those other fees just in case you might not have to pay them. Maybe the seller will pay them, but keep another 10 grand just in your back pocket in case you have to pay the stamps and everything. So that's like 40 grand. Then once you're in the house, you're immediately going to have payments because every time you switch the utilities into your name, they have activation fees. So you're going to need maybe 1 or 2 thousand for that. And then once you get into the house, all the things that your property inspector missed, you're going to notice them within the first couple nights of sleeping there. And you're going to have to fix a leaky roof. You're going to have to fix some sort of a pipe in the wall that has Tourette's. You're going to have to possibly replace the washer and dryer. You're going to need to put in the security system. You might even discover that all the windows in the house are just pieces of plexiglass siliconed onto the window frame, and you don't actually have any windows.
No, stop. The way you're going, no
Hammer
one's
time.
going to buy a house at this rate. And we're showing people how to save for it. So the truth is, when you're looking to buy the house, you need to have 20%. Now, here's what you have to think about. You're probably paying rent right now. So, how much are you paying rent? When you pay the 20% and you get that monthly mortgage, how much cheaper is that than the rent that you're currently paying? Depending on that, then absolutely it may be the better option. And then after that, I agree that once you if you're thinking home ownership is I'm just going to go in there and live all night. You're going to be up all night listening to things in the wall creaking and stuff, praying that that's not a pipe that's about to burst. I agree with that. But that's at least a different situation because you've gotten out of the rent situation and you do have an asset, which anyone that bought a house at 150,000 and said my house isn't an asset, well, now your house is valued 600,000 if you're in the hood in the worst community. So that's definitely an appreciating asset. But what we have to do is get out of the renting into the buying because you are putting the money back in to your assets. So I think 20% to get rid of PMI, and then your mortgage payment will probably be $1,000 or more less than what you're paying on rent right now. And then we're gonna have to have another tip, which will kind of teach you about finding the right house to make sure you don't go in there with a leaky roof, to make sure you check to ensure that's not plexiglass, to make sure you don't have water damage, and as soon as you lean on the wall, you just fall right through it, and there goes 10,000. But yeah, You want to get in as soon as possible,
Stop
except this year.
stop propagating misinformation. Okay, that is the biggest scam in the world, where people say, oh, when you buy the house, it's like you're paying yourself instead of paying the landlord, and it's an appreciating asset. Whoa, that is just so wrong in so many ways, because it's not an asset. It is a liability, because many things can go wrong with the house and you're liable for all of it, and your insurance will most certainly not cover everything. And you can't just say, "Oh, well, my house went up in value, so yeah, it's like an asset. I'm making money." No, you would have to be able to sell the house in order to realize those gains. But how can you sell the house? That's where you live. What are you going to do when the market goes up and your house is worth 600,000 and you're going to sell it? You're going to buy another house that is also now 600,000. You're still just even Steven. There is no point to that. And then, oh well, my mortgage is slightly cheaper than my rent, so you see it's savings. No, because you're paying a little bit more, but the landlord will fix and anything that goes wrong and take all liability for anything that happens on the property. You're absolved of all of that madness. So you also have freedom. You can move at the drop of a hat. Leases are usually like 1 year long. And the money that you would have put down, right? Because I wasn't even done calculating how much money you're going to need to save before you buy the house. So let's keep bumping it up. And this is just for a $150,000
You
house.
don't need to bump anything up. I don't know what you're talking about. Listen, if you do a DNA test, you are descended from warriors and nomads that didn't have any problem leaving anywhere. So if you were smart enough and not trying to save all of this money for the home ownership and bought a house in New York when it was down to 300,000, that house that you're in is now 1.9 million dollars, and then all you have to do is sell that, pack your ass up, and move to Florida like every other person that lived in New York just did. And yes, you realized more than $1.6 million in profit. So, yes, you're fine when you land in Florida and you buy a house there for 400,000. So, you want to get in and get the house quickly, unless it's right now in 2022 again.
If you bought the house in New York, Chicago, Detroit, LA, you're already dead. There's nothing for you to realize upon the sale of your house. If you're lucky enough to have a descendant, they'll realize it. But anyways, so you're going to need like 50, 60,000 just to buy a $150,000 house and be kind of safe when you move into it. But if you had just rented and used that savings in some sort of an investment that doesn't lock you to a specific location, expose you to all sorts of liability, and gives you dividends, then by the time you would have paid off that mortgage and being able to say, yay, I own this rickety old house that I was never able to afford to repair anything, and there's leaks all over the place and drywall holes and all sorts of other problems. Instead, you'd be able to say, well, I'm only, let's say, 45 years old, and I'm thinking about retiring right now because I have a multi-million-dollar nest egg in the stock market or commodities market or any market of your choosing. Or maybe you started your own business, or maybe you just kept it in the bank because now they're finally starting to pay you some interest. I think we're up to about 3% that banks are paying because of all the inflation that's been going on. So, or maybe you bought gold or platinum. Platinum is usually pretty good because it's pretty cheap compared to gold, at least at the moment. And then there's been times where it's been more expensive than gold. But I'm not giving financial advice. I'm just here saying that you should have a nice little nest egg before you even think about buying a house, because that entire time that you've stuffed all that money into this thing that is just taking over your life, that you have to cut grass and clean this and plunge that, you could have just had the money in an investment that required no hands-on effort from you and just woke up a millionaire one day.